All right, folks, we're about to get started. Just waiting for it to be 1 o'clock. I think we're all ready. I think we're all set. I put a quick polling question in the screen. If you can answer it, only if you're in the live Zoom, you can answer the polling questions. So if you're watching it in Facebook, I mean, or maybe the recording afterwards in YouTube, if I ever say something about the polling question, you can add some comments below, but only the people watching live in Zoom inside the webinar can actually comment in that. So we're about to get started in about a minute. We are live on Facebook as we speak. And I think we're going to be good to go. Perfect. Welcome everyone to What Accountants Need to Be Doing Today, a special edition or a special version of Advanced Webinars by Hector Garcia. Today's April 9th, 2020. In today's world, you need to contextually know what date the webinars are being done on, because there are so many changes, so much new information day by day coming in that sometimes it's hard to keep track of whether this is the old, the old information or the new information. So I get it. It's not easy to keep up. Today's is going to be a no CPE webinar, even for the paid members that usually get CPE with the advanced webinars, because this one's actually going to go public in YouTube afterwards. The information that I'm sharing here needs to be given to all accounting professionals, bookkeepers out there, because I think it is valuable stuff. And I also need to disclaim that I am not doing all the things that I mentioned here, even though you should practice what you preach. It's just not physically possible. I'm going to give you so much information about the things that I'm suggesting you could be doing. They're just ideas. And hopefully you can take whatever seems to be proper for you, for your business, for your team, and for your clients. I am practicing a lot of these though, but again, it's not meant for you to take them all. It's more for you to get ideas from it, and hopefully the ideas will become your own, and then you can sort of build your own idea. So table of contents, we'll talk about introductions to the webinar series as a whole. Then we'll talk about accounting professionals being the voice of reason in today's crazy world. Then I'll talk about the 5 key questions that you need to be asking yourself and asking your clients. This would be a repeated one because I've mentioned this one several times, and I stole this one or I borrowed this one from someone else. So I'll discuss that. Then we'll talk about borrowing money, financial needs, right? Managing all these SBA loan craziness with our clients. Then we'll talk about unspecializing, right? Because there's a lot of thought about, wait, I used to specialize on restaurants. Now restaurants are hurting, and how is that going to affect my business? Should I not specialize anymore? So a lot of accounting professionals are having this discussion. I think professionals as a whole that used to specialize, thinking, it's specializing in a specific industry that is more susceptible to some sort of catastrophe. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? So we'll discuss that. Then we'll talk about managing relationships, practicing empathy versus salesmanship. We'll talk about some communication strategies, some things that I've done, some things that I've seen other accountants do. And then we'll talk about advising our clients with opportunities and trends, how to detect what an opportunity and a trend is, and advising them on it, just giving them ideas. So real quick, if you're unfamiliar with my work, best place to get to know me and what I do is my YouTube channel. There's my email. There's a phone number of my office. If you need to hire me for whatever reason, there's my contact information. The advanced webinar series, and this might be a repeat if you watch all the webinar series, has covered a lot of specific topics from April of last year. So we went monthly with the exception of March. We actually had to skip March because we had a little bit of a scheduling issue, and we postponed the March episode to April 23rd, so 2 weeks from now. The upcoming episodes is going to be next week, April 16th. We'll be talking about some QuickBooks Online post-tax season tips and tricks. And that was the original title because tax season was supposed to end 4:15. So that episode is going to be all about efficiency, tips and tricks, technical tips and tricks inside QuickBooks Online just to become better. And that March episode was postponed to April 23rd, which is going to be QuickBooks Online for retail and restaurants businesses. And I will be done. I will be closing the book in QuickBooks Online advanced webinars, hopefully for the rest of the year, because I want to take a break from QuickBooks Online training for a while. Maybe I'll make an exception or two at my discretion if something really exciting comes out, is worth making a webinar about. And then we're going to switch over to QuickBooks Desktop for manufacturing and wholesalers. So I'll be having an episode in May. And if you're watching it live in Zoom, you're already registered for this. And everybody will have access to the very first episode. And then the people that want to continue on the 8-part series, they'll be able to buy in into that series and get all the QuickBooks Desktop training and for manufacturing and inventory that I'll be focusing on for the rest of the year. Now, the one webinar that's still open to the public that I'm selling mostly for accounting professionals is a paid webinar called How to Create QuickBooks Video Tutorials. It's going to go live on April 30th. And basically what I'm going to teach you is how to create QuickBooks tutorials, desktop or online, to teach your customers, to teach your prospects, to teach your employees, to promote yourself, doing sort of technical screen shared type of tutorials. And we'll talk about all the tools, what equipment do you need, the editing software. We'll talk about using Zoom versus some sort of paid software. We'll talk about using webinars the way I do them, and talk about monetization. How do we make money from creating video tutorials? Now let's go straight to the content on what proactive accountants need to be doing today for their clients. Before doing that, I'm going to ask you a quick polling question first. Okay. And let me run the polling question real quick. And the polling question to you is, what proactive actions have you taken? What proactive actions have you taken to help your clients? What proactive actions have you taken already up to this point to help your clients? If you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, put the comments in the comment section. If you're in Zoom, just select one of the options that's on the screen. So I'll read them to you real quick. So one of them is educate yourself on, somebody says I can't see the polling question. Can't see the poll. Why? Why can't you see the poll? Damn it, Zoom. Hang on a second. Hold on a second. You're right. Let me relaunch the poll again. Tell me if you can see the poll now. Can you see the poll now? Yeah, okay. So one of them is educate yourself and your team on the latest tax laws and SBA programs. 2, catching up your clients quickly with accounting and tax so they can be ready to file their tax returns to solicit loans. 3, are you calling your clients proactively and say, how you doing? How are you? How are you and your family? Like, not how's your business? How are you and your family? It's everything okay? That sort of thing. Are you increasing your availability and capacity so you can quickly respond and you can quickly reply to your clients' inquiries and questions and concerns about all the stuff that's going on nowadays? Have you created a sound communication strategy to keep your clients informed of what's going on in your firm? You know, are you active? Are you not active? And what's going on with the economy? What's going on with all the government programs? Have you created a strategy for that, right? I'm not saying, are you just willy-nilly emailing everybody all the information as it comes in, but do you have a sound communication strategy? Are you proactively offering flexible payment terms for people that are struggling financially? Are you going to your clients and say, hey, if you can't pay, don't stress. Here are some options. Have you researched and advised your clients on other sources of income, specifically for clients on industries that have been affected most, right? And are you proactively contacting your clients and doing expense reviews, right? Like, are we practicing strategic frugality? Okay, I know some of these polling questions don't show complete. So I'd love to know, what are you doing proactively to help your clients help through this crisis? So I'm going to end the poll and I'm going to share it here. I'm going to end the poll real quick. Thank you for answering. And the most common answer is educating yourself and your team on the latest tax law changes, and SBA programs. And the second one is, getting the books done ASAP, getting the payroll taxes done, getting all the stuff done so they can solicit their loan. So those are the two most practical ones. So if you're one of the ones that didn't answer that, maybe you want to take a clue from there. Maybe it is a great opportunity for you to engage into these things proactively. So the reason why I say accounting professionals, the voice of reason, is because in my case, my clients are all freaking out. I mean, they're freaking out about things they shouldn't be freaking out. They're all nervous. There's a lot of uncertainty. They don't know. I'll give you one of the most common ones I'm dealing with is they don't know if they should be laying off their employees so they can get unemployment, or should they pay them a minimum so they can stay alive, or should they wait for the magical government to sweep in and magically give them money so they can stay alive. So there's just a lot of uncertainty, and that's the vast majority of anxiety my clients are having is that. And when I say voice of reason, is telling clients, look, you need to plan as if there's no magical helicopter money coming in. You need to plan as if this is the reality and these are the conditions that you're dealing with. And you also need to act and treat your employees the way you want to be treated. So sometimes you just need to be able to be the voice of reason and tell your clients something basic like that, so they can kind of rethink it, and then no longer have false expectations about how they're going to go about solving the problem. So if I usually tell people, let me ask you a question. If I wasn't there to give you advice, if no one else was there to give you advice, what is your heart telling you? What are your instincts telling you that is the right thing to do? And then you let them say it. And I think that most of the times, the first initial answer that they give you, what their heart tells them, is probably going to be the right path anyway. Because if you derail them and send them in a different direction and you are wrong, it's sort of going to fall back on you. But of course, if your clients have a really bad idea, like not educating themselves on anything and closing down the business and moving to Panama or whatever crazy idea they can have, right? You could also be the voice of reason and kind of send them into the right path. So that's really all they need sometimes, is they just need a sound, reasonable person to give them advice. But the key element that I will give you, and I'll tell you from personal experience, is you yourself cannot be emotional about it. Like, you can't be emotional about the things that the government is doing wrong. I'm telling you, because I've been very emotional and criticizing the government for what they're doing and they're not doing and everything else. And then basically that seeps through our clients, and our clients get even more anxious. So I've learned how to curtail my impulses a little bit and try to become just a bit more neutral, a bit more reasonable, because your clients sometimes they just need sort of a neutral person to do that. And it is tiring and it is difficult, and it's physically and mentally tiring. Now, there are 4 areas, and there's so many things that small business owners need, but there are 4 areas that I think that small business owners need the most help in. And I want to break them down to sort of create the theme of this entire presentation, because every single one of the points that I'll hit is going to fall into one or more of these themes. So number 1, the most obvious and the biggest one, and you probably would agree with me, the biggest help that they need is financial or cash flow. But hey, I'm an accountant. I can't make money magically appear in your bank account, right? And I had to set that expectation immediately, saying, look, I'm here for you. I will help you as much as possible, but I cannot make money magically appear, right? I could probably guide you through making less money disappear by controlling your expenses, but I cannot make money magically appear. Now, I could guide you through, give you some ideas like, hey, call your credit card company and just change your credit card number. So all these automatic things that are coming out of your bank, they magically stop being charged. And then if you didn't miss them for a month or 2, well, you didn't need that monthly subscription to whatever in the first place, right? But you got to be careful, because you can have some vendors that provide some crucial services, and if you stop paying them, they stop giving you the service that you need in order to survive. So that's just within the sentiment of people that are overwhelmed and they don't have time to comb through all their expenses, and it's just way too much weight on them to check what every single charge is and evaluate whether they need it or not. But one thing that I potentially could help as an accountant is if there's a government program, a government loan, a forgivable loan, a grant, a tax credit, or whatever. If there's something out there, I can read on the law. I can guide you to the process of applying, but I can't guarantee, that that's going to give you cash flow. So we have to give them sort of simultaneous advice to assume as if you're getting no golden parachute, no cash coming in, and run your business as it. And also at the same time, be as diligent as possible to try to get those things. And unfortunately, I believe too many of my colleagues are placing way too much faith in the fact that this money is going to come in, that these programs are going to be funded, that these loans are going to be forgiven. And while I trust the system, I trust our institution, and I want to trust our government officials, and I want to trust the intent of spending all these, creating all this debt and printing all this money and doing all the stimulus for the purpose of helping businesses stay alive. As much as I want to believe it, I cannot count on it. I cannot plan based on that. Period. Right. So I have to err on the side of conservatism and just be as practical as possible and a little bit of pessimistic, but pessimistic with the purpose of not setting the wrong expectation. The second big area that our small business owners need help with, and I granted our friends and our colleagues as well, is psychological support. A lot of the problems with this virus is not just the physical harm from the virus, it's the virus of the mind. It's all these people that are that just get overwhelmed with the amount of information and misinformation, and they also get preoccupied with things that they can't control. The biggest challenge that all of us have as humans in moments of chaos and necessity is we start taking upon ourselves, we start taking the pressure of trying to fix things that cannot be fixed. So we have to be able to be the voice of reason and say, look, let's lay out all the problems that are in front of you, but let's split off what are the things that you can control and what are the things that you can't control. And whatever you can control, let's create a plan around that. And whatever you can't control, let's create a plan around how you react to the things that you can't control and how do you proactively plan to be able to evade or duck per se, all these bullets that you can't control coming your way. So a lot of the support that they need is moral and mindset. One of the things that one of the quotes that I try to say to as many clients as possible when I feel they're in dire need of uncertainty is, if you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. Because nothing, and this is going to get a little bit deep, but nothing is really intrinsically real, right? Nothing is really intrinsically real. Reality, it's how we reason perception, right? So nothing is intrinsically real. However you perceive it, however you see it, however you process it, becomes your reality. That's why they say perception is reality in the customer service world, because if you perceive something to be bad, that's going to preoccupy your mind and you're going to see the negative side of everything. Or if you perceive something to be an opportunity, even the bad things, you're going to look and search for that opportunity. So that's just, again, today I'm an accountant about 20% of the time, and I'm a psychologist the other 80% of the time. And unfortunately, that comes with the territory. And our clients are, believe it or not, even if they don't tell you, they're counting on us to be that moral and mindset support. Now, the third one here is, and this is a really important one, is customers or small business owners, they need curated, summarized, easy to digest information. And the reason why I tell you this, and I can tell you this firsthand, is because I posted a couple of videos in YouTube, videos that have never gotten the amount of views that I ever gotten in any other video in a short amount of time, which is any videos about stimulus package, around getting the documents you need in order to request a loan, around the PPP program, the Paycheck Protection Program, which we'll talk about, not in detail, but we'll talk about how this affects everything. And the amount of comments that I've noticed, it is obvious the amount of financial illiteracy that's out there, the little that people know about finance, and the little that people know about how government functions, and the little that people know about how banks function and how underwriting functions, and really how business functions as a whole. And a lot of these people, they're at home, maybe doing less work, maybe they're unemployed, they're spending a lot of time researching and reading, which I think is good. I think people should be reading and researching and studying. The problem is there's so much information that becomes confusing and it becomes misinformation. There's people that are reading, actual information, the actual treasury guidance that tells you how these programs work, and they're reading it verbatim and they're interpreting it in whatever way they want to interpret it, based on whatever, right? On their incapacity to deal with so much information, that sort of thing. So what they need from us, or what we need to do in order to help our clients and our future clients, frankly, our prospects, is for us to curate the information, summarize it, and deliver it to them, and get to the point where clients go, you know what? I'm going to stop getting so much information from so much random people, and I'm going to count on my accountant. I can't tell you how many clients I fought with. And when I say fought, I mean figuratively, about whether or not you can use subcontractors for a PPP loan. I mean, it's just been just a big struggle, right? Because they say, my banker told me yes, or my friend applied and they did it, or my bank is asking me for 1099s. Therefore, they're probably going to look at that in terms of figure out the payroll cost. And I've already read all the documents I needed to read. I read all the treasury guidance I need to read. I know for sure what the answer is, but I have to now tell my client to look, you got to stop getting so much random information from people that frankly don't know this. And it's not their intent to misinform. It's just too much information. So I think that's just a really important one. And the last one is people need help with business planning and legal matters. There are so much of the questions that people are asking that are legal questions. And you have to be careful as an accounting professional, especially if you're a CPA. You can't be giving information that's legal in nature, because professional standards prohibit you from doing so. So, for example, if a client asks me, should I let go of my employees, or should I furlough them, or should I send them on unpaid leave, or should I lay them off, or should I allow them to quit? These are legal questions. And if I answer them wrong and they use my advice to their detriment, that could be a challenge. So right now, clients, they need to consult their attorney on these type of legal matters. Like, should I stop paying my mortgage? Should I stop paying this vendor? My landlord's not being flexible. I'm going to stop paying the rent. All these questions are asking, which we as financial professionals can say, you know what? If your question is, should you spend less money on XYZ? We're generally going to say yes, right? So if we want to give a conservative financial answer to most of their questions, we're probably going to give them wrong legal advice. And that's really a challenge. But the other side of the coin, what about business planning? Because I really truly want to believe that COVID-19 is not, our future, right? This is a temporary thing that we're going to get over with. And people are so preoccupied, so focused on the short term, that they're forgetting what the long-term effects are. For example, if you have a business that can, in fact, to afford to keep their best employee on staff, okay, but income is severely being hurt, income is coming down, technically they have an excuse to let go of their star employee, and you let go that star employee, and that star employee knows the finances of the company. They know that the business owner has been making a lot of money through that business. They know the business could probably sustain, paying their payroll for 2, 3, 4 months, even with no income. If you lay that person off, the psychological effects to that person, if you ever want to hire them back, are irreparable or unrepairable, or probably irreversible. So do you want to basically destroy the value that your employees and the relationship between you and your employees have created? So this becomes not just a legal question, or should I let them go or not? It's, is this even going to work? And the other part of this, which I think is another huge challenge, is you have clients that are going to look for this PPP loan, the Paycheck Protection Program, and they're going to get funding based on the fact that they're going to keep their employees on staff or hire them back. But what if that business cannot open? Like I've had this conversation with a restaurant client of mine. I got one restaurant client. That restaurant is not my specialty, but I really like my client and I've been helping them for years. And they're like, look, if we get this funding and I have to pay them, what am I going to pay them for? Because we're running a skeleton crew, right? As a restaurant, we're running a skeleton crew doing only takeout orders. And I had like 50 waiters that I'm going to have to hire back. And also, what rate do I hire them back on? Because as a restaurant, I used to pay them, the prevailing wage of a waiter, which is in Florida, it's way below minimum wage because the waiters make the tips and they have to report the tips income. I know in some states there's minimum wage laws with waiters. So they're asking me questions that are quasi accounting, quasi legal, and also from a business planning perspective, do they want to lose all those employees? So they're just very difficult to answer, and you have to tell people that's a legal question you want to ask your attorney. But if you want my opinion about what I would do in my business, like I wouldn't even say what I would do if I was in your shoes, what I would do in my business, I think it's perfectly fine to say something like that. So something to think about something to think about on these 4 areas. Now, the other area that I realized is there are so many businesses without accountants. It's incredible. And the reason why I tell you that is because when I posted these videos in YouTube, and in all my videos, I put my email on the bottom, I got an avalanche of emails. I would say about 250 emails. I'm not exaggerating, in the last week or so, of people asking questions about the PPP program. And I started answering each one. I was kind of naive at the beginning, thinking I'll have time to, and I just don't have time to. And the minute I started replying, because I said, you know what, screw it. I'm going to start replying, ask your accountant or work with your accountant on this. Everybody was saying, I don't have one. I can't afford one. I don't have one. I can't afford one. I don't have one. I can't afford one. So number one, the biggest and largest opportunity that I've seen from COVID-19, biggest and largest opportunity I see from COVID-19 is there needs to be a low cost group setting accounting service that can at least help people through these little things. So if a company out there were to create, I don't even know what it would look like, but it will create some really low cost, maybe $20 a month or something, to be a member of some sort of accounting firm that doesn't do one-on-one work, but can educate and answer questions and can solve problems. That's a huge opportunity. But also, in the other side of the coin, what's happening to all these businesses that don't have accountants? They're on their own trying to decipher all the tax law changes, gather documents, and SBA loans. I would argue that the people that have saved themselves $500 or $1,000 or whatever an accountant can cost by not hiring an accountant have wasted more time and more value of their time researching, deciphering, being anxious about all the options that are out there than actually having an accountant. So the concept is you can't afford not to have an accountant. It's actually a very prevailing concept. The other one is they're resorting to YouTube and social media to try to figure out what's happening. I'm telling you, go to YouTube and search for Paycheck Protection Program. Open any of the any of the videos that have a lot of views and watch the comments. And you start noticing how many people know nothing about nothing and also have nobody to ask or resort to. So I just think that's something to observe. It's also an opportunity. But at the same time, if you're an accounting professional watching this, you need to tap yourself on the back and you need to feel really, really, really damn proud, really, really damn proud of the profession that you're in. Because right now, this year, 2020, this is a year where accountants are going to be very, very valued, and it's going to be super obvious, who has a good accountant and who doesn't. And this is the specific reason why I say it. We have the Paycheck Protection Program that's $350 billion. Government, as we speak, is arguing about adding more helicopter money to this program, right? They might add another 200 billion. They might add a trillion. Actually, it doesn't matter how much they add. Bottom line is they're never going to come up with a number that's enough to satisfy everybody. However, any of these government programs about getting funding that rely on you having payroll, on you having the payroll documents, on you having your financial statements, on you claiming income correctly. Because I would argue that people with accountants claim their income correctly or a bit more conservative than people that do their own tax returns and TurboTax. So then all these people are going to come in and apply for loans, apply for help that is based on having their crap together. They're not going to be ready, and they're going to be last in line to get all this funding. So the businesses that are savvy, smart, that have enough money to pay an accountant and an advisor, all these advisors are proactively approaching them because they're good clients. They're preparing the stuff for them, and they're getting them first in line to prepare to go to the bank and get these funds. So there's just so much inequity right now as we speak. There's inequity about the inability of funds for the small business owners that are prepared with accountants versus the ones that are not. And that's a real shame. I can't solve that problem. That seems to be a macro problem I can't solve, but I'm going to be damn sure that all my clients are going to be first in line with this. And I proactively made a spreadsheet. The minute this law came out, or the Paycheck Protection Program, I made a spreadsheet of every one of my clients. I went to the W-3. I took the extra time and figured out what is the total payroll expense. And I made a spreadsheet to figure out what is the potential impact that all my clients in my firm, all 100 and something clients in my firm, would have if all of them were to take advantage of the Paycheck Protection Programs. And we're talking about millions of dollars. So I had the power as an accountant to contact all my clients and give them early access to the funds of these millions of dollars. How many accountants out there do that for their clients proactively? How many clients that don't have accountants would not even have a chance for that because they either can't afford it or they convince themselves that it was too expensive to hire an accountant? And now finally, it's living proof that it was too expensive not to hire an accountant. So I want you to, if you're an accounting professional, pat yourself on the back because it is a great time to be an accountant, in my opinion. And it's also a great time to be a business owner with a good accountant at the same time. And the last one is we are busy. Accountants are busy. So the clients, the ones that don't have accountants, don't have previous relationship with accountants, they're now searching for accountants. I know because a bunch of people are asking me now. They're saying, Hector, help me. Whatever it costs, help me put a loan application together. I have to say, look, in reality, I can't. As much as I want to, and as much as I love your money, and I want you to pay me, we just can't. We can't. I can't. I don't have the capacity to do it. I'm full of work right now. So you got to go find another accountant. And then they come back and say, well, I found an accountant, but they don't have the answers you do. Well, this is where having a social media presence, this is where having a YouTube channel, this is where having a community, this is where having credibility or having knowledge, this is where having a library of content, a blog, this is where having an online brand about educating the world becomes really, really handy. So right now, during COVID-19, it's been the best years. Financially, it's been the best years for us because we're getting so many clients, so many requests because it's paying off. All the social media content, all the Facebook groups, all the YouTube videos, it's all paying off. So if you're an accountant that doesn't have any of that, it's not too late. Start. All right. So this is one I really, really like. It's called the 5 Key Questions. And this is from Ed Kless. Ed Kless is a co-host of one of my favorite podcasts, called The Soul of Enterprise. And I interviewed him for about 25 minutes where we kind of talked about the logic behind these questions. So you want to check out that video because I think it's really good. And I'm going to go to the 5 questions with you. So these are the 5 key questions that you need to ask yourself as an entrepreneur and ask your clients as an advisor to your clients. Question number 1, what opportunities to fix things about your business can you take advantage right now during the interruption, right? So think about all the things that you could never fix before because you were running at 1,000,000 miles per hour. Now you have the time. Now you have a downturn. This is really going to help you. You don't have an excuse, right? You have time to fix things, whatever it is, right? IT problems, accounting problems, infrastructure problems, marketing problems, branding problems, remote work problems, all that stuff, right? All that stuff. So that's a really important one. The second one is, what have you learned about your business during the interruption that you didn't know before. One thing I learned about my business that I didn't know before, it's I don't physically need an office space. And funny enough, we just spent like 50 or 60 grand in my office remodeling the entire space to make it really high tech and really like a place our employees will go and they just love to work there. We build a podcast room, we build a bigger training room, we build a little hangout area. We spent tons of money, and then literally we got the CO, and the next day we got locked down and everybody went home. So it was so disappointing and so disheartening. But now I see my employees doing great from home, working great from home. Now, I suspect that when this whole thing is over, they're going to want to go back to the office because they'll be desperate to leave their house. But this has taught me a lot about remote work and the fact that you really don't need a physical space to create value for our customers. So that's just a lesson I learned, and something that you want to ask yourself. Third one is, if you could do something before the interruption. So this is more like if you could go back in time, which I know is a not realistic question, but if you could go back in time, do something before the interruption, before the shutdown, before the virus, what would it have been? What would you have done preemptively, right? And I'm not saying like, buy a whole bunch of toilet paper, right? Like that's not the question. That's what the question is asking is, how could you have prepared for any sort of interruption? And if the answer is, well, I could have saved more money. Well, you know what? Then I hope that this becomes a permanent lesson to all Americans, right? Because we as a society are really bad. Here, give me 1 second. Yeah, okay, but if you're gonna come interrupt, then come interrupt. All right, give me 1 second. I got my 3-year-old here, and my wife is nowhere to be found. Give me a second. All right. Can you hear me? Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So I forgot to lock. I forgot to lock the door. Um, anyway, I figured like normally in another circumstance when I'm doing webinars, I'll be freaking out and jumping out of my seat. Right now, almost every meeting I have, I have, I hear dogs and kids walking in. So I've almost became, I've become pretty much, accustomed to, kids interrupting meetings. And you know what? One of the things I tell you is for a very long time, myself and as a business owner and as a professional, you know, I thought that giving this appearance of utmost professionality and perfectness was such an important thing. And then once you start, realizing, how important your family is and how intertwined your family and your work is, and you start seeing everybody not freak out, about their kids. It's kind of funny, I know kids interrupt in a meeting, but I became less uptight about it. Let's call it that. Anyway, so what was that thing that you could have done before the interruption? The fourth one is, when your business returns to normal. So now this is a bit future looking. What opportunities are there for you to serve your clients better? Okay, no matter what, clients are going to change. Their expectations are going to change, and the way they want their service changes. One of the most stark examples is when I order food through Uber Eats. I forget which one it is. Now they give you an option of how you want that food exchange to happen, and one of the options is drop it off at the door, ring the bell, and disappear. Right. The other one is personally hand it to me. So I mean, I just think that's interesting. Like the customers now have different expectations on how they expect the delivery of the service or the product to be different. The delivery drivers are wearing gloves, right? So again, it's one of these things that at least customers are going to have a different expectation. I don't know what it is. I don't know if you're going to have to wear gloves all the time. I think Dr. Fauci this morning said or recommended that, for the short term and possibly long term, Americans should let go of the custom of shaking hands. I mean, that's shocking to me. Like, it's shocking to me that we as a society might make the choice, and I get the reasons why, of not shaking hands. I mean, there's so much, again, how I perceive it. There's just so much connection that you make, by shaking hands, by hugging, by tapping somebody in the back, whatever physical contact of choice you have. Because I know here in Miami, in South Florida, Latinos, we're very close to each other. Like I kiss my customers in the cheek, the opposite gender, when we say hello, like this is normal, and even my employees, believe it or not, sometimes, we kiss each other in the cheek to say hello. So it's just like, it's just going to be really weird. It's going to be different, and that's going to affect our business because our customers might have a different expectation. Like I know in Japan forever people do the bow, right? And that works. Are we gonna start doing bows? I don't know. Are we gonna do this the military salute? I really don't know. But you want to think about deeply and hard, how is how is the new customer expectations, how is the new normal going to affect their expectations of service delivery? How are they going to affect what they expect at the end to be? What do they expect to be the process in which you exchange that product or service on whatever it is? And one thing I'll tell you for sure is that people are going to expect you to work from home. So the concept of, hey, it's 5 o'clock, I'm going home, I can't give you an answer, that's going to be completely eradicated, because what's happened is that everybody's working from home and everybody's working 24/7. So all of a sudden, this disconnection that I'm leaving work and I'm done with the day's over, like this banker hour concept, that's gonna change, and that's gonna be an issue, because people are gonna need things in all hours of the night. And on top of that, because our customers are hurting now, I'm working at all hours of the night helping my customers. Last night, I helped a customer at midnight. Put together the numbers to put a PPP application. So unfortunately, I'm trying to help them. I really am trying to help them, but I'm probably also setting the wrong expectation that I'm available to work at all hours of the day. So I think that there needs to be limits, of course. There needs to be a balance, but unfortunately, our customers are going to have a different expectation. And the last question from the 5 questions here is, what is the question that if you had the answer to, it would have allowed you to more easily recover from the interruption? And maybe I could potentially answer. So anyway, so if you go through the 4 questions and then you wait at the end and say, look, what if you can come up with your own question? Come up with your own question that you can ask yourself or ask me. And if you had the answer to that question, it would change. It would change. Things would change, or things would have been better. I don't think we could. We can't change the past. We can't. We can affect the future, but we can't change the past. And we can't change the virus. We can't change the shutdowns. But there are things that, if they would have happened before, life would have been better. Like, for example, I built for 5 years an online brand. I built a structure so I can work from home. I built a client base that is okay with me working from home and remote. And doing this business, it hasn't really affected me. I mean, I've been affected mostly psychologically, not financially. Like, my kids are driving me nuts. Staying home all day is driving me nuts. But financially, I haven't been affected at all. And because I was prepared, and not prepared because I wanted to, it's prepared because I am prudent in nature. I prepare in nature. So this question is meant to elicit the thoughts about planning and what is it that our clients need to be thinking about today. So when another interruption comes in the future, whether it's a virus or a natural disaster or a terrorist attack, or God forbid, we go into war or whatever, right? Shortage of water, whatever it is. Like, I don't want to think about these negative things. I don't want to think the world is ending. But if something happens that creates a temporary interruption, what are you going to be doing proactively? We're going to be thinking about, without freaking out all day long, right? But you got to insert some prudency into the way you run your business. All right. So let's move on to borrowing money and tax credits, which I probably say it's going to be one of the biggest questions that people have for us. So number one, I'm going to break down all the SBA loans real quick, just so we can clear out some confusion. There are some business owners that actually watch my YouTube videos, even the ones that are geared towards accountants. So this will be a combination of things. Maybe you can use this information to educate your customers or create your own slides to educate your customers. Number one, there's a traditional SBA loan, the SBA 7A, that has always existed. I have a lot of clients that are coming to me and saying, Hector, I'm applying for the SBA loan. And they're asking me for 3 years of tax returns, 3 years or what? And I'm saying, dude, wait a second. You're applying for an SBA loan. Why? Well, because of the government. I'm like, dude, hold on a second. And traditional SBA loan has nothing to do with a forgivable paycheck protection loan. It has nothing to do with the economic injury disaster loan. But the thing is that brand SBA, it's all encompassing, and people are misinterpreting that an SBA loan means free money from the government, and that's not it. So I've had to go back and tell people, hang on, an SBA loan is this, an economic injury disaster loan is that, a paycheck protection program, it's that, and all three are managed by the SBA. All three are guaranteed by the SBA. So it's important to just educate people on these things because there's just misinformation. There's also an SBA loan program that's not available in all banks, but most banks that do traditional SBA 7A should have access to, and you have to ask for it because they don't know. It's not part of the regular portfolio because it's a pilot program. It's called the SBA Express Pilot Program, and it's a low interest 7-year loan that gives people up to $25,000. Through a guarantee to the SBA. You do need to have full documentations, tax returns, all that stuff, but it's meant to give you quick access to cash, $25,000, and you will pay that back. It's a traditional SBA program that has quicker underwriting than an SBA program, and it takes into consideration downtrends in business where traditional SBA 7A loans are only for growing and expanding business. So just with these two, there's a lot of confusion. And if you go to sba.gov, those things are clearly stated there. And you have to talk to the SBA specialist in a bank to get access to these. The problem is, and we have a huge staffing problem with banks, is that banks are putting all their employees and all their SBA people only on the Paycheck Protection Program. So there's no resources allocated to these two. But these two exist, they're real programs. Now we have the SBA EIDL program, which is actually split into two phases. So the economic injury disaster loan has always existed. This is not a new thing. And generally is anywhere between 10 to 30 years, the type of loan that it is. And every time there's a hurricane or a tornado or a flood or an earthquake, whatever, anytime there's physical damage to an area that needs economic relief, the SBA Economic Injury Disaster Loan, it's a loan, not forgivable. It's a loan given to these businesses so they can reconstruct. That loan has always existed, but the new legislation expanded the scope of the EIDL program and created a new program called the Advance. And the Advance was supposed to be, in essence, in spirit, a shot in the arm, a quick injection of cash to small businesses. And the law said up to $10,000. People went to the SBA.gov website. They clicked on the COVID-19 SBA.gov website. They fill out their information. To me, the information they asked was actually kind of dumb. So when I finished the application process, I'm like, how are they supposed to fund people based on these 4 questions that they asked? The question was, what's your revenue? What's your cost of goods sold and number of employees? And there was nowhere for you to even upload documents, but you can hit a little checkbox that says, I would like to be considered for the $10,000 advance. And you put your bank account number, and it gave everybody a false sense of security that you put your bank account number somewhere and they're going to fund it. And then no one has been funded, as far as I know, almost 2 weeks into the program. No one has been funded. I haven't seen anybody, or I haven't heard of anybody getting paid. Recently, they said that it's not $10,000 for everybody. It's up to $10,000, $1,000 per employee. So self-employed people, essentially, is just one employee. So those people might get $1,000. Who knows? But I don't think anyone that I've known has gotten the money. There's some anecdotes that some people have gotten it, but I haven't seen it firsthand. Anyway, the concept is they're going to finish doing the advances first. So they're going to give everybody the advances. They're going to deplete to those funds. I think it was either 10 billion or 50 billion. I forget exactly how much was allocated for the advanced portion of it, for the emergency advance portion of it. And then they're going to come back and offer you a loan based on your circumstances. At that point, they'll underwrite it. They'll ask for tax returns, financial statements, business plan. They'll ask for all that stuff, history of your sales, and they'll come back and offer you a loan. And the concept is that if you get offered a loan, you already received an advance, so you're going to get the difference, and you're going to have to pay it back. I believe it's 7 or actually it's going to be 30 years. Sorry, it's going to be expanded 30 years, and it's going to be 3.75% if they offer you a loan. If they can't offer you a loan, because you don't qualify, then they'll forgive the advance. But again, unfortunately, as of today's date, 4/9/2020, I haven't heard of anybody getting the money or even seen the documents in terms of what the money is contingent to. I assume there's multiple moving parts, like your state or your city needs to be part of a disaster area, or they need to verify that your business is real. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of things that they have to go through first before you do that. And then there's the big one, the big boy, which is the PPP, or the Paycheck Protection Program. And I've done so many videos, so much content about that I don't want to bore you with it, but I'll talk about maybe some of the gotchas behind it. So number one, I've already helped my clients apply for the PPP program for several banks already. Chase is up and running. Bank of America is up and running. Most community banks that were already set up for SBA are up and running. PNC Bank, it's up and running. So a couple of banks are actively taking applications. BB&T and SunTrust, I didn't see an application process for. Citibank, I haven't seen an application process for. Wells Fargo supposedly, anecdotally, had an open program, but within a day, they were completely locked out because they had an asset cap. So the gotchas here is, the challenge is finding a bank that will do this. And the local banks, the small banks are actually coming out the winners in this. They're the ones that are winning the battle. They're the ones that are building the relationship with the clients. And a lot of the new local regional banks, they're going to win business, and they're going to steal business from, not steal, they're going to earn business from the big banks. So that's going to affect us a little bit as accountants, because now we're going to have small business owners dealing with the little banks. They may not have such an advanced online module for us to go online and view check images and all that stuff. So that's just something just to think about, what's going to happen, what's going to be moving with that. With the Paycheck Protection Program, the other part that's really confusing about it is for self-employed individuals that file a Schedule C but don't have employees. There's no guidance right now. I'm going to pull up the Treasury website here so you can see it. So the place to generally go to get guidance on this is the Treasury website, which is home.treasury.gov. And then you would click on the COVID-19 link. And then in this website is where you see all the documents regarding the PPP program. If you're new to it or you haven't seen it, check it out. But there's nothing with specific rules and guidance in how self-employed individuals would be underwritten. Now, I've memorized how the PPP program works for employers that have W-2 employees, but I have no idea what advice I can give people to self-employed. My take is probably a self-employed individual without employees will be able to use up to $100,000 of their net income and get a loan against that, which is going to be approximately 20 to 25% of those 100,000 or up to the 100,000. And then that might be forgivable. The mechanics on how self-employed individuals will have forgivable loans, that's not even out there yet. And subcontractors, if you paid subcontractors, those do not count. Those are not part of the payroll cost calculation. So you cannot get funding to pay your subcontractors. But each of your 1099 people, each self-employed individual can apply on their own for their own PPP program starting Friday, April 10th, tomorrow. And given the rocky start of the first program, I'm not even sure if tomorrow the self-employed program will be up and running. And if it is up and running, it's going to be half-assed because there's technically no detailed information about it. And if Treasury were to upload today at 2:00 in the afternoon, the guidance, how are banks going to be ready in a day? I mean, the whole thing is it's a cluster mess. Now, one thing I recommend is, beyond the federal government programs, there's tons of programs that are sponsored by the states. And this document here, it's on the slides, is the Gusto's COVID-19 resource list. Hats off to Gusto. What a great job they did at putting together this spreadsheet. You definitely want to check it out. It's got every state, and it's got a link to every one of the programs that they have compiled that is available in your state. There's some bridge loans, there's some grants, there's some regional specific programs to help people. So that's just a really great resource. You want to go to that. You want to go to that link. So that's on the slides. So if you don't have the slides, just go to the bit.ly/AW04092020 link that you see in the top. That's going to be your link to download the slides. I'm going to copy and paste that in the chat as well, just to make sure, because I know some people can't see everything clearly. So I'm going to copy and paste the link in the chat and in the comments, so to make sure that you have that link to the slides. And inside the slides, you're going to see all that stuff. So check out the Zoom chat or the Facebook chat, or even the comments in YouTube if you want to get access to the slides, so you can get all the links. All right, so let's talk about some financial lessons that we've been learning from COVID-19. And I think these are important ones to reiterate and don't forget, because these lessons should be not just for the short term, they should be for the long term as well. One is savings and rainy day fund. Come on, man. I'm so disappointed at all the clients that I've been telling forever to save money, don't spend it all, keep some cash in the business, don't distribute yourself all the money, don't pay yourself so many distributions, keep some cash, because the minute you transfer to your personal account, that's going to be gone. So, helping people budget themselves sometimes is hard, because they have to get rid of all these habits of expenditure and over expenditure. And I hope that at least in a positive way, to everybody that saw firsthand how important it is to save some money, save for a rainy day, even in a retirement plan. This year in 2020, it's the only year that you can take out up to $100,000 from your retirement plan, and it's penalty free, or you don't pay the 10,000 penalty. I personally cleared out my 401k. I didn't have that much money in it. I cleared it out. I cleared it out completely. Right. I took the cash. I wasn't panicking. It's just like, if I don't get any penalty for taking it out, I already got the tax benefit the years that I took, that I put the money in. I got the tax benefit. Let me take it out. I'll pay the taxes. I don't care, but I don't pay penalties. I get my cash back. So I was able to use the mechanism to get the tax deferral, and now I can get it back. So anybody that needs cash from their 401k, you can take it out. I'm not saying that you should do that. You should talk to your financial advisor about that, because the stock market is all over the place. It looks like it's recovering, whatever, and it's probably going to recover, and I'm probably going to regret taking the cash out. But just know that even if you have retirement plans, you could access the funds in different ways. So having that, also, one of the things I tell you, and I predict that a lot of companies are going to get loans, a lot of the companies are going to get funding. And these companies were not meant to be, to stay alive, right? They're companies that should have gone under 2 years ago. There's bad businesses, there's bad business owners that they should not be in business. Okay. There is, absolutely. I'm getting some comments saying, and this is on financial advice that people are giving me, bad time to take your money out. Bad time to take your money out of your 401k. Leave your money in your 401k. Leave your money on the market. Thank you for the advice on that. And I will probably be wrong about this. But I was just illustrating, what you could do, right? Penalty free. So again, I get it, and we don't have to belabor that point. But I do have some clients that wanted to do that, and I told them the tax law provides doing that. So these businesses are borrowing, but they're unprofitable business. They're bad businesses, right? I predict that a lot of these companies are going to be borrowing and borrowing to fund a business that shouldn't exist. Now, I don't want to be unsensitive, right? I know people are hurt. I know that the financial circumstances, economic circumstances prevent a business from being a normal business, and the opportunities are not the same. And it would be unfair to tell someone your business should fail if it because of the market. But if your business was bad in the first place, if it was a bad business model, if it was a bad idea, don't get a loan and don't get yourself even in more debt because you're funding bad things. You're funding bad things. Traditional banks don't give money to businesses that are hurt because the likeliness of them paying back is 0 to none. So we might be throwing money, throwing money down the toilet. And again, I have some of my clients that are telling me, I need a loan desperate, I need money. And I tell them, dude, you know what you need to do? You need to reinvent yourself. You need to come up with a different business, with a different business model. Your business was doomed from the get-go. And now it's proving so. And obviously, I never wanted to tell someone that firsthand. But, sometimes people need to hear the reality. And you shouldn't be a business. Don't borrow. Don't put your house on the line, because these SBA loans, not the PPP, but the SBA loans, the economic injury, when they're large enough, they will take your collateral, and the SBA is ruthless, in taking your home. They will. So I don't know if the circumstances will change, and politically speaking, if that would be a bad thing or a good thing to do, and they would actually execute on it. But you want to ruin your credit, you want to ruin your credibility, personal. If the current business you're in is not a good one, look, it's not worth it ruining your personal credit to try to save a bad business that you should pivot away from. Because at the end of the day, they will look at the personal credit. Bottom line, all these people that foreclosed and didn't pay their mortgages during the crisis for a long time weren't able to get access to good credit or cheap credit. Now it's been 10 years, so most people can, but in the short term, you will not have access to credit if you hurt your business for something that's not worth it. I prefer to pivot, close that business down, keep my good credit, and then when a new business idea comes in, when I get off unemployment or whatever, and the business and the economy thrives again, that I still have my credit intact to go with my new venture. And a lesson learned from the Profit First book. I don't know if any of you guys have read Profit First. Pretty cool book, interesting book. And there's a story about how we behave when there's money and how we behave when there isn't money. And is a toothpaste example. When you go put toothpaste on your toothbrush, and your toothpaste is full, like your container is full, and some falls on the floor or in the sink, you wouldn't think twice about using that. You would just throw it away, discard it. It's disgusting, right? If your toothpaste is down to the last piece, and we're there squeezing the toothpaste bottle, and we're sucking it out, right? And then we're like, and if some falls in the sink, we're not gonna lose it, even if there's a hair in it. We take the hair out and we put it on a toothbrush. Because we have a lot less, we make do with what we have. When we have too much, we're wasteful. So I call this the curse of success, right? Businesses that have been successful for 2, 3, 4, 5 years until now have the curse of success. They made too much money. They increased their expectations for lifestyle. They bought way too many things. They got levered. They got too expensive of a car. And now they're in this crunch, right? Now they're in this crunch. Now that they're having a tough time, making the same amount of money they were making before, they have to make some major lifestyle changes and adjustments. And look, it's reality hits, right? So that's just an example. So the Profit First example says, tuck your profits away, put them away, hide them, take them away from plain sight. This is why retirement plans work so well. Put it in your retirement plan, put it in a rainy day fund, put it somewhere for a very specific purpose for growth. Because if you have the money available in your personal bank account or in your operating account where you take distributions from, you're going to spend them. The other lesson I would tell you is, I would, from now on, if I was a small business owner, from now on, I would never, ever, ever suggest that you make one expenditure from your business account that's personal in nature. I would never, ever, ever do that again. So my advice to clients is you need to make a personal expenditure, pay yourself through payroll, and learn how within your payroll to manage your own personal finances funds. And now that there's limited amount of funds, commingling funds is the worst thing you can do. And when it comes to these government loans and up, and then I Googled it and I turns out that I didn't, which is strategic frugality. So some of my clients that tell me, what should I do? And I should say, you should practice strategic frugal. Is, don't think bad about yourself because you're spending less money because you're being cheap or you're being frugal. You need to strategically do this to survive. It's a nice way to call yourselves cheap. So when somebody calls you cheap in the future, saying, man, you're cheap, you're saying, no, I'm strategically frugal. And there's two parts of this when it comes to employees and keeping employees. Okay. So there's this FFCRA. I do know that one. And basically, if you have an employee that was sick because of the coronavirus, like they got sick because of the coronavirus, or they're caring for someone, a family member that had the coronavirus, or they're caring for a child that didn't have school and therefore they had to stay home due to the coronavirus, you can get a credit that you can take, and the government will basically fund up to $511 per day, up to 10 days of anyone that left in a sick leave, in a paid leave. So if you paid someone to leave for 2 weeks so they can recuperate from coronavirus, the government will refund you up to $511 per day, 100% of their wages for 10 days, which is really, really neat. So you're gonna have access to that credit. And the other one is if your employee had to leave because they had to take care of a family member or someone with COVID-19, or they had to stay home because they couldn't telework or whatever, and you pay them, the government will reimburse or give you a credit for 2/3 of their wages up to $200 a day. So whatever their wages are, up to $200 a day, if as long as it's 2/3 of the wages or more for 10 days, you're gonna get that credit. So it's really important to know this, even if you're not a tax person, so people at least get the relief that there will be a tax credit through the payroll taxes that pays for. Actually, honestly, this is not going to be through the payroll taxes. I assume this is going to be in the income tax. I actually don't know what the mechanics of this looks like. I haven't seen the actual tax form. I don't know where this goes. So if it's a C Corp, I assume that's easy because C Corps can give you refunds and stuff like that. But I actually don't know exactly how this works. I'm assuming that's in the payroll form, but I haven't seen an updated payroll form that shows that. So I haven't gotten there yet. I get questions like, how do I document that someone was sick because of COVID? Just get a doctor's note, something like that. I don't know what the mechanics look like right now. Now, there's also an employer retention credit, which is different. This is different. This is if your business was suspended or partially locked down due to COVID-19, you can take up to 50% of the wages that were paid between March 13 and December 31st, 2020, up to the first $10,000. So let's say, for example, you have 3 employees that got more than $10,000 during that period. So you'll be able to get a $5,000 credit per employee just for keeping them. But the caveat is your revenue, your sales would have to be reduced by at least 50%. So if your revenues go down in a quarter over quarter comparative for every quarter that you calculate this credit for, if the revenues go down by 50% or more and you keep your employees and you pay them $10,000 or more, you would get $5,000 per employee. Now, the way you get the money, it's 2 ways. One, you take a credit against your 941, which means you pay less taxes or you get a refund of the taxes, or you request an advance to the credit using Form 7200. I haven't filled one out yet, so I can't tell you firsthand how it works. Now, there's a phase out that ends at 20% reduction in sales. So let's say somebody had 40% reduction in sales or 30% reduction in sales, then you don't get the whole credit, you get a proportion of the credit. And then if you don't have 20% or more reduction of sales, it'll be completely phased out. So I'm sure that for a couple of employers, this is going to be a couple $1,000s per employee, which is nice, because you kept the employee even though the sales went down. Now, you cannot use the employer retention credit in combination with the PPP loan. So if you get the PPP loan, you cannot get this credit, or the other way, right? If you get this credit, you can't get the PPP loan. But I assume that PPP loan will be funded first before this credit even appears, because I haven't even seen the mechanic of how you actually claim for this. And if you had FFCRA credits, that means you paid people because of COVID-19 paid leave. If you had FFCRA credits, those will need to be excluded from the retention credit. So it would be the retention credit minus the paid leave. So for the most part, this will affect people mostly on that first and second quarter of the year where the COVID-19 cases appear the most. Now, I hope that by the third quarter, we're in second quarter now, after the third quarter, there's no more COVID-19 cases in the world, in the US, and this whole thing is done with and it's cured and eradicated. I hope all that, but hey, what can I do? All right, so let's move on to unspecializing. This is not a word. This is just something I typed in there. Unspecializing. So some of the challenges that accountants have had over the years is finding a niche, finding a specialty. And any accountants that were focused on transportation business, on food business, on grocery business, those people are not being hurt right now. Those accountants are super ultra busy, right? But any accountant that may be focused on retail, on barber shops, on restaurants, well, the problem with those accountants is they don't have clients. They don't have paying clients. So there are pros and cons to specializing when it comes to economic catastrophe like this. And the big question is, and I'm going to speak directly to my colleagues that do specialize in these industries. The big question is, should I dump the whole specialty thing and move somewhere else because otherwise I couldn't pay my bills? My answer to you is don't. At least publicly speaking, don't. Stay within your niche, stay within your strength. Because what will happen is when it comes back, all the accountants will be so turned off by that industry because of just the lack of income in it. You'll be one of the only ones and you'll be able to prevail. So don't publicly. But internally, if you do get some referrals and some people need help with a PPP loan or whatever, if you can do some work for people that are outside your industry, I would still take the work. So I would take the work, even though it's not your specialty. I would take the work mostly because you got to survive and also you got to help people. And I believe accountants, specialists or no, deep inside, they just want to help people. They just want to help people. So internally, take anything, but don't change your marketing strategy. Don't change that because it takes a while to build a niche. And the other one is, specifically when it comes to this, the other one is, should you consider specializing now? Is now a good time to specialize? Look, you can specialize on payroll nowadays. I mean, it's obvious nowadays that a whole bunch of people don't have their stuff together when it comes to payroll. And people are now going to be paying it. Like right now, a lot of business owners are starting to think that W-2s are important. Because the PPP program has mentally given small business owners awareness of the importance of having 941s and W-2s. So all of a sudden, payroll will become more relevant, more important. Okay. Understanding the difference between a subcontractor and an employee will be much more important. And I'll guarantee you that every small business owner that tried to get a PPP loan that wasn't able to include their subcontractors will now change their mind about having employees versus subcontractors in the future. They will now say, you know what? I better have them as employees because I want to be able to have all these jobs-driven, employee-driven government programs. So specializing in payroll might be a really good thing. Specializing in just loan packages in general might be a good thing. Specializing on businesses that are going from a brick and mortar to a online business, that might be a good thing. Specializing in e-commerce right now more than ever, the accountants that I know that specialize on e-commerce, they're busier than ever, because people are now running to sell things online. And now that people are jumping into like, I have a client that never sold in Shopify before, all of a sudden has to sell in Shopify. They did it on their own. They found a Shopify consultant, but now they found themselves with a huge mess in their accounting and they need a lot of help. And that's not my specialty. Like, I'm not an e-commerce specialist. So all these clients are selling online, and the advisors that know how to help clients that sell online, that can guide them to the process, that can tell them what's what e-commerce platform to use, what talks to QuickBooks, whatever. Those guys and gals, they're succeeding, they're prevailing, because it's a good time to specialize on e-commerce. Period. Um, and even if the economy makes a turn and the virus goes away, even with that, e-commerce has always been a good specialty to have. So right now, if you find yourself not knowing what to do and not having enough work, and not, you know what you need to do? You need to figure out e-commerce. You need to learn e-commerce now. Now, you need to be all over e-commerce now, because e-commerce is not the future; it's the present. And I answered that one. Should you consider becoming a generalist now and ditch your current positioning? I think no. I think you shouldn't become a generalist now. I think you should learn new skills, take a new type of client, help in other areas, but don't stop your positioning. I have a good friend that focuses only on restaurants, and he's told me, I'm not going back now. I'm not going back now. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna sell low priced $20, $30 webinars, appeal to my restaurants, and say, look, it's a low cost. I want to educate you on everything that I think is out there possible for you. And then when you come back, we can have a regular, accounting small business relationship again. But, so he's sort of trying to reinvent himself, try to keep the clients connected to the business, even though they're almost completely shut down. Now let's move on to communication strategies. Actually, let me take a break for a second so I can take a sip of water. And let me run a polling question. Do I have any polling questions here worth asking? Give me 1 second. All right. So I'm just gonna run a polling question real quick. So what do you think are your small business clients? What are the small business owners' biggest threat? What is their biggest threat right now? Is it physical health, the coronavirus? Is it mental health, their mindset, their mentality, their anxiety? Is it the uncertainty about the future? Just that creates anxiety. Is it the fact that the workers really can't do the work? Like, they're in the type of business that they haven't been hurt, they're still thriving, or they're still okay, but their employees just not just as productive? Is it reduction in sales? So what do you think are your small business owners' biggest threat, your most typical small business owner? So if you're on YouTube or Facebook, just add it in the comments. We'd love to know your thoughts about that. Start a conversation about what is it. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and end the poll. And I'll actually, only got 50% of the votes. I'll give it 30 more seconds. So what is your client's biggest threat? What is your small business owner's biggest threat right now? Is it physical health? Is it mental health? Is it financial health? Is it planning and uncertainty about the future? All right, I'm gonna go ahead and click on end poll and share the results. And by far, 55% of you said financial health. Now, granted, you guys are accountants. The vast majority of you are accountants, and the vast majority of you, the problems that your clients share with you mostly are financial. But I would assume that if you were asked this to a psychologist or a family mental health professional, and you were to ask them, what is the biggest threat that your clients have? They would say something like, well, it's, abuse in the household, right? I mean, there's some terrible reporting about how there's been spikes in abuse in the household or suicidal thoughts, right? People wanting to harm themselves. So obviously, depending on the profession, your perspective about what the biggest problem is might be different. But naturally, as accountants, at least what our clients tell us their biggest issue is mental health. So I got a question here about how long this webinar is. Mariana, I try to make them an hour, but I'm never successful at that. So my new cap is 100 minutes. So that means we are literally close to ending. Maybe I got 20 more minutes. So I'm going to try as much as possible to keep it under 100 minutes. So that's how long they are, an hour to 100 minutes, 60 to 100 minutes. So, all right. So let's talk about communication strategies. So over communication, it's a real thing right now. I remember maybe like a year ago or something where people said nobody's ever been hurt or fired for over communicating. You know what? I'm being over communicated out. I received an email about what COVID-19 means from every single person I bought something from in the past 10 years or happened to have my email. And I'm getting communication out. Way too many communications, way too much information that I don't need. And quite frankly, it's turning me off. Like if you're going to send me an email that I read that was copy and paste from somebody else's email, like I'm done with it, right? So you need to be careful with over communicating with your clients too. Like don't fall into the trap where you're sending your clients emails every week where they don't want to hear that. So you might have to customize your communication based on how much communication your clients want, and also based on what they want to know about. Because some clients want to, like I have some clients that don't want to hear about the PPP program and all this stuff. What they want to hear is about opportunities. What opportunities are out there? Hector, what are the opportunities? They wanted to get free ideas from me about what they can do in this business. They don't care about the tax credits or the employees or whatever, just because the nature of their business, that's not what's affecting them. So over communicating is a real thing, and just be careful. Just be careful with that. Do communicate with your clients, but don't over communicate. 2 is, look, in some cases, we don't need to do a Zoom meeting about everything. I'm also Zoom meeting out. Like I never did a Zoom meeting with a client before to ask me a question about whatever. They did it with call or text. All of a sudden, because they discovered Zoom, they want to have a Zoom meeting about everything. It's like, no, man, I don't have time to have a Zoom meeting about everything. So like don't offer people. And also Zoom meetings are a little bit intrusive because some people like to hang out in their underwear or whatever, so it's like they want to talk to you, but they don't have to look at you, right? And even though you can turn off your webcam, just the concept of doing a Zoom implies that you have to use a webcam. So Zoom meetings are a little bit intrusive. Now, on the other side of the coin here is so many clients have never heard of Zoom and they've learned how to use Zoom now. So that's kind of good, right? Because now they can do Zoom and they're telling me, man, I'm Zooming with my vendors and I'm Zooming with my contractors and I'm Zoom everywhere. And I love it. So that's cool too. I mean, I like the fact that, people are learning a new skill, right? They're practicing, like people still don't know how to mute for some strange reason. The mute button is the elusive button that nobody can find. And also people need to learn some Zoom etiquette. I should do a webinar just on Zoom etiquette, like camera angles. You know what drives me nuts? When the cameras are like this, and they're talking to you like this, and that's what it looks like. And they're talking down at you, and it just drives me nuts. It's like, I don't want to look at you if I'm going to look at the bottom of your chin. That's just no good. Like Zoom, webcams are easy, right? They should be at eye level and about 3 inches up. That's the most flattering of all the angles. Also, don't have a big window in the background where all the light comes in and it looks like there's this aura around you, right? You're no saint. There's an aura around you, so you got to have some Zoom etiquette, and also microphones. Like, what I hate, when people use the built-in microphone from their laptops. First of all, they're horrible. And second of all, they pick up everything. They pick up every dog barking. They pick up the TV that's on the background, the video games, the kids stuck, playing Fortnite or whatever in the background. It's like, dude, get yourself a headset or lock yourself in the room or get yourself like a broadcaster's microphone. Look, I believe everybody should have a podcast. That's my issue. But I think everybody should have their own podcast, especially nowadays when you have nobody to talk to because, for whatever reason, you can't go out, do a podcast, chat with your friends. So I think you should have a real microphone, and the microphones are not expensive. Well, that's my rant on that. And also call versus text versus email. I would just ask my clients, hey, what do you prefer? If people prefer text, do text. People prefer email, do email. People prefer calls, do calls. Nowadays, we just have to be more flexible. I remember I was so anal about the only way to talk to me is this way. The only way to talk to me is that way. And I used to be so. And nowadays, look, I'm telling my clients, I will try my hardest to help you, but keep in mind that I made the same promise to 250 people, right? So our clients that have been with us the longest, that pay our bills on time, that don't bitch and complain about our bills every time we send them, those are the ones that I'm most likely gonna answer first, and I'm gonna go in that route. I'm gonna go that route because look, I can't answer, everybody's email and phone calls and texts, everybody panicking about the PPP loan at the same time. If you've been my client for a long time, and I literally whatever my good clients. I will go to bat and help them, and I proactively call them the minute I saw the Chase link be up, and the minute I saw the Bank of America link go up, and the minute I saw Wells Fargo got their asset cap. I'm calling these people and saying, "Dude, do the PPP, let's do it." But I can't do that with everybody. So hey, if you client have been good to me, I will be good to you now. So that's really important. Also, newsletters, right? Tell people, do you want to sign up for my newsletter where once a week I'm keeping people abreast of everything that's going on? You don't have to batch email your clients about everything having to do with changes in the employer retention credit. You're gonna lose them. But say, hey, I'm doing a newsletter where I'm talking about three things: government programs, opportunities, the economy, the market, whatever. And would you like to be part of that? And just keep it, because this connection is going to be really important. Email notifications. Again, do I have to notify all my clients of everything via email? I don't think so. Blog articles on your website. Look, if you find yourself with free time, and I know most of you most of my friends and colleagues are not in this situation. We're all super busy. But you find yourself with free time because you lost clients or whatever, why are you explaining the same thing to every client? Or I guarantee you, everybody on this call that's watching this has explained the same thing to at least 2 or more customers. And literally, it felt like deja vu, and you wasted 20 minutes with the same customer. You had the same discussion, the same fight, the same explanation. Why are you not putting these things proactively in a blog article on your website and telling people, great question about the PPP program versus EIDL program. I wrote an article about it. I'm going to email you the article. Please read it and then call me back with your questions about it. And then when people say, no, I want you to explain it to me, I say, no. I wrote it down so I don't have to explain it to you. Please read it and then call me back with your questions about it. That's going to cut your conversation in half, right? Because we're wasting way too much time, explaining the same thing to everybody. And I find myself fighting with every single customer about the whole 1099 W-2 thing. Again, it's like deja vu all over again. And the clients that say, you never advised me to increase my salary in W-2. Now I'm screwed. Now I can't get the credit. I'm like, no, yes, I did. You just chose not to listen. So you got to writing these things down, and communicating and creating a permanent history that you are giving people the right advice. A podcast. Look, you can go to anchor.fm and you create your own podcast for free. If you find yourself, again, having the same communications with your clients over and over, start a podcast and every week record if you're not good at typing, record for 30 minutes, everything that you have learned, and send it to your clients. Who cares if you have only 10 people listening to your podcast and they're your 10 clients? Trust me, you will be more efficient. And your clients are going to say, my accountant has a podcast. My accountant is high tech. My accountant is in the know, and my accountant shares their knowledge. I don't have to be looking for it. They proactively share the knowledge. So the goodwill of having a podcast, right? Or a place where you voice the communication that you would otherwise put in an email or whatever, that's going to be really, really valuable. And videos. Like a lot of accountants are being proactive and they're posting videos. Well, not daily, but I'm doing daily because I'm a freak like that. But so people are doing weekly in Facebook and YouTube, and they're letting people know this is what's going on. This is what we're doing. These are the options. If you need more information, call me. Like they're doing this via video, YouTube and Facebook, and that's good. You want to do that because again, different clients have different ways of communicating. Webinars, like, are you creating webinars, free webinars for your clients, and you create a little PowerPoint and you explain like the same thing I'm doing with you guys, right? Like, I don't know why accountants think that webinars are only for accountants. That's the one thing that just drives me nuts. They're like, oh, customers are not going to attend the webinar. BS. BS, because politicians are doing webinars to explain the stimulus package. And they're getting thousands, hundreds of thousands of people watching. Politicians, like boring ones too, right? From both sides of the both parties, right? They're doing webinars and they're horrible and they're slow and I hate them. I can't stand them. I watch the webinars. I'm like, okay, these people obviously don't know how to do a webinar, but they're doing it and they're getting views. So why can't accountants do webinars for their clients and their potential clients and their clients' friends or whatever to explain these things to people? It just baffles me. The technology that's out there, the easy, how easy it is to do this, and we let these opportunities just run. I mean, in many ways, I'm trying to show you by example that you can do this. It's not that difficult. It's not that difficult. All right, relationship building. Now, these are more sort of personal things that you may want to think about when talking to your clients, which is, and this is a really good question I got from YouTube, which is, how do I collect on open invoices for my clients that are in financial trouble? So my clients owe me $2,000 for last year's tax return or whatever. They're in financial trouble. They're asking me questions. They need advice. They don't have any money or very little money. How can I have empathy? How can I not be tone deaf and tell them, look, I can't help you because you haven't paid my bill? I get it. One of the things I could tell you, look, you can tell your clients this, and I think there's different approaches, but one of the things you can say is, Mr. Client, we gave you the opportunity to pay in advance at a discount. You didn't take it. I understand. We gave you the opportunity to pay on the spot when you had cash. You didn't do it. I understand. Now the problem is that we can't work for free. I also have my own financial troubles. Even if you don't, you can say that. I also have my own financial troubles. I'm also having my challenges with employees working from home. I'm also having clients that are not paying me, and I have to be able to do what's right, at least for the clients that are going to do what's right for me and my family. So one of the options you can give people is to chunk the payments and say, you know what, instead of, pay me when you have money. I get it. Pay me when I have money. We'll talk in a couple months. Tell people, what can you pay per week? Can you pay $10 a week? Yes. Can you pay $20 a week? Yes. And you just keep increasing it like a bidding system until they say no. So you say, can you pay $10 a week? Yeah. Can you pay 20? Yeah. Can you pay 50? No. Okay. So they stopped at 20. So you're going to say, perfect. I'm going to set you up in an automatic $20 a week until this gets paid off. I'm going to bill you or whatever for the new services, which, whenever you get back on your feet, you can pay. But at least as long as you keep paying me something, I'll continue to give services. Bottom line, you probably are not going to leave people out to dry. You're probably not going to, let people get screwed. You're probably going to help them get their loans or whatever, because it behooves you that they get funded, right? You can say, look, I'll help you get the loan, but when you get the money, you pay me first, right? But it's more important and more valuable for the customer to pay at least a small amount per week, instead of feeling that they don't work with you anymore, because stop paying you means disassociation. And psychologically speaking, it's going to be much harder for you to win them back if you say, I'm not doing any work until you pay me. So something to think about. I mean, again, I don't have all the answers. I don't have any of the answers. These are just ideas, different things. The other one is, remember that you need to be empathetic towards the person you're speaking to, but you need to be firm with their business. So instead of saying you owe me money, you can just say the name of their business, owes me money, right? So I'm talking to John, the owner of JC Construction. So instead of saying, John, you owe me $2,000, I can say, hey, John, how are you and your family doing? I know these are tough times or challenging times, weird times for sure. JC owes me $2,000. And then, I'm having issues, this and that. Look, as a company policy, the companies that we work with must pay our bill or pay partially our bill or be on a payment plan before we can continue working. However, I understand how you feel. So it's like you can be hard on issues, but you have to be soft on people. And this is a very weird, complicated mindset to have, because most people's businesses and personal lives are intertwined. But that's one way that you can be hard and tough on the fact that the businesses owe you money, and be empathetic towards the individual at the same time. I think that you should completely show affection and love towards the person you're speaking to, but show disdain for the fact that the business hasn't paid their bill. You can do those things if you manage them correctly. You can do those things at the same time and be completely balanced. So something to think about too, because if you say, I need to get paid in order to work, you can say something like, our business needs to collect so we can pay our employees. Our business needs to collect so we can pay our overhead. So instead of saying, I need to get paid from you, say, our business needs to get paid from your business in order for us to continue, because we're both businesses and we both are entrepreneurs and we're both managing a going concern. So by disassociating it from the person, you can be hard on the issues and remain soft on people. I love that, by the way. I learned that from my second favorite podcast called Two Bobs, from Blair Enns, who's one of my heroes. Check it out. Number 2, BOBS. The last episode is fantastic. I stole that straight from there. I think it's just great. Let's talk about some potential flexibility with payment terms you can give to your clients. So for example, what if let's say you have a new client coming in, they're hurting, but they need help. What if you give them a 1-year contract where the first 2 months are free? I'm going to charge you for the 3rd month in advance now. So essentially, I'm going to charge you for 1 month, which is going to hold you up for 3 months, but we're going to be on contract. And by the 4th month, you start paying me. So psychologically, what this does is you lock the client in and say, I'm going to lock you in for a year. I'm going to do the work, I'm going to start the work as if we're going to work permanently. I'm going to give you 2 months for free, which is probably the time that you're being hurt, because this thing shouldn't last for more than 2 months. Hopefully, I'm crossing my fingers. And I'm just going to collect the 3rd month in advance, which is technically just the 1st month in advance. And you're giving the 2nd and third month for free. But this is just psychologically speaking, the way you frame it, it just looks like a really good deal. So I saw somebody do this. Somebody offered me this, and I was just blown away by the offering. Right? It was a landscaping company that says, we'll do a 1-year contract, 2 months for free. I'll charge for the 3rd month, and I start billing at the 4th month. It was so confusing that it was so simple, and it was just very appealing. So something to think about. I'm not saying do it exactly like that, but think about how you can frame how your services are and how they're flexible towards the customer and their current situation. Something else you can do is just look, is there any discount? Look, if you have cash now, because there's some businesses that have cash now, to say, look, if you have cash now and you think you're going to have cash flow issues in the next month or 2, and you can afford it now, hire me for a whole year so I can be here through everything, PPP loans, employer credits, bookkeeping, accounting, talking to your banker, whatever it is that you're going to need help with. I'm going to price it for you for a whole year. It's guaranteed that I'll do the work for you. You'll be done through the tax year, whatever, but pay it all now and get a big discount. I would never intrinsically discount my services ever, even with the situation. What I would do is offer discount based on prepayment or based on a year contract. But you never want to take the purpose. You never want to take the principle of that service price and reduce the cost because it devalues it. So again, only offer discounts based on how customers are paying you on payment terms. Now, the other thing I thought it was pretty interesting is, what if you switch to a weekly service, or at least a weekly paid service that they can pause and cancel anytime. So tell someone, look, commitment free, weekly. So no longer offer monthly or quarterly, offer weekly because the dollar amount is easier to digest. And any week that you're hurt, just call us. We pause it, we cancel it, and then once you need to unpause it, we'll write something in the engagement letter where we have some sort of discounted catch up fee so we can catch you up with those weeks as well. Okay. So that's just 3 ideas on how you can present services in a flexible way. Okay. The last one here is opportunities and trends. So I'm going to show you a couple of resources that I think are really, really cool, really interesting to look at. One is this website called Stackline, top 100 fastest growing and declining categories in e-commerce. You should probably bookmark this page because if they come up with a next one in April, that would be really fun to kind of see this. And this is so cool. Check this out. This is going to tell me all the products that are the categories of products that are fastest growing right now. Okay. So some are pretty obvious. Disposable gloves. Look at this. 670%. Disposable gloves. 670%. That's obvious, right? That shouldn't be a surprise to anyone, really, if you think about it, right? But bread machines. What in the world? Right. So I don't know how this, I don't know why. I don't get it, but I guess bread machines are blowing up. And I'll explain to you why I think it's relevant for you to be looking at these things and for you to be advising these things. And people are saying this is comfort food. That's why it makes sense. We got cough and cold. We have soups. I don't know what that means. Maybe that means ramen soup. I get it. So like if you're poor right now, you'll be eating a lot of ramen soup. Look, dried rice and grains. Okay, that makes sense because the food doesn't go bad. I don't know where toilet paper is in this whole thing. I think the issue with toilet paper is that there just isn't enough supply. Otherwise, because remember, toilet papers sell to supermarkets, right? And they already reported their sales based on what they sold at the supermarket. So toilet sales are technically not, toilet paper sales are technically not up. They already sold, right? And you can't buy toilet paper direct from manufacturer. So until the supply goes up, they're probably not going to show up in here. But that's my theory. I don't know. We got weight training, so people are doing more in-home weight training. We obviously a lot of staples, paper towels, hand sanitizer, pasta, flour, facial tissues. So again, they're pretty interesting, and I'll give you a little bit comment. Oh yeah, somebody says that's why you can't find flour because everybody has a bread machine at home. Good point. Can't find flour anywhere, so flour is kind of the new currency. Now let's take a look at the declining SKUs. Look at this one. The top 100 fastest declining SKU, a luggage or a suitcase, right? People are not traveling. That sounds pretty obvious. Briefcases, cameras, men's swimwear, formal wear, right? Formal wear. Most people are working in their underwear nowadays. Bridal clothing. I guess people are not getting married nowadays. It's kind of a green time to get to marry. So why am I showing you this? Well, if your client is in the business of any of these things, fast growing SKUs or declining SKUs, you should tell them, look at the writing on the wall. If you have any clients that are in manufacturing, like I do, and they make anything that you could use the same facility to make any of these fast growing SKUs, you should be pivoting to that. Like that's why all these beer distilleries are making hand sanitizer, and all these people that make clothing are now making face masks. There's a reason for that. And then all these companies that used to send in subscription, send products to your home, they're also doubling down on marketing because a lot of people want to get these staples being sent to them. There's some companies that sell toilet paper that get shipped directly to your house, and those are growing, super fast growing, because you can't find toilet paper. So again, so one just interesting one. Then we have Google Trends. I might give you this one, and this is more of an exploratory one, just for you to kind of look at and play around with. But Google Trends is basically a website that kind of gives you insight to what people are searching in Google nowadays. So what are people searching in Google nowadays? So for example, you come in here and you look at coronavirus search trends. I'm going to click on here and read more. And you can see what are the things that people are searching. When are things are getting back to normal, right? That's up 4,000%. Let's see what else. Coronavirus small business, right? That's up 5,000%. When does a stimulus check get deposited? Right, number one search in the past day. How's Boris Johnson doing? How many people die a day in the U.S.? That's kind of grim. Where's my stimulus check? So why does this matter to you? Well, if you're an accounting professional and you're thinking, I should be creating content, I should be creating webinars, I should be writing about stuff. This is the stuff that you should be writing about. Like if you want your videos or your podcast or your blog article, if you want the content that you create to be found, well, match it up to the people, the things that people are searching, and this is going to be dynamic. So figure out how in accounting per se, how you can connect your accounting business, your advisory business with what's happening now. So for example, how many people die a day in the US, right? So if you're an accountant, you're like, what kind of content could I be creating around that? That's kind of grim, but maybe you can create content. Is life insurance taxable? Is life insurance deductible? Because if people are searching how many people die, trust me, people are also searching, how can I get life insurance? Does life insurance cover COVID-19? Whatever, right? So again, it's just some things to think about. What does stay-at-home order mean to your small business? How to run your business from home. These are things that you should think about creating content for that proactively. So number one, your clients are not asking for it over and over. And then number two, you can get some new eyeballs into your website and your brand. Now, ADP has this really cool infographic. And I find this a little bit interesting, right? I think they did this in March 27. So it's actually not bad. And it says here, how many small businesses feel that they won't be able to survive the current state for another 3 months? Look at this. 30% of small businesses feel that they will not be able to survive the next 3 months. 46% of mid-sized businesses feel that they won't be able to survive another 3 months. Now that's interesting. I'm not sure why mid-sized businesses are more susceptible than small businesses. Maybe small businesses can adapt quicker or can find alternative sources of income quicker, where a mid-sized business it's a lot more committed to their system already. Look at this. 77%, that's a staggering number, of mid-sized business already considering or already began applying for SBA assistance. So if you are not proactively calling your clients, small or mid-sized, sorry, I have to get a drink of water. You should, because right now, an accountant or an accounting professional that doesn't know or understand about the SBA loans, it's irrelevant. It's irrelevant. And I'm telling you, a lot of people are emailing me and saying, how can I hire you? And I say, hire your accountant. And they say, he doesn't know anything. She doesn't know anything. I want to hire you. So you got to be the one. You got to be the one that knows this stuff, that's on top of this stuff. Because otherwise, it's really gonna be an issue. So I just find this infographic to be pretty interesting for you to look at. And ADP usually puts out a lot of really cool content out there. You want to check them out as well. So that's it for me. Any questions or comments? I'll give you an ask. If there's a key takeaway from this webinar, something that you think will change the way you work, something that you can take action right away, something that's going to help you and your clients, email me and tell me. I would love to hear the story. Look, this resonated with me because XYZ. Email me and tell me this is the stuff that feeds it feeds my ego, but it just feeds me in terms of content. It lets me know what are the things that I'm doing are relevant. Because again, I'm on a mission to help as many small businesses as possible. And the only way to do that is through their accountants. I think not the only way, but the fastest way to help as many business owners as possible or businesses as possible or help the economy as a whole is to help their accountants, help their advisors, give them better advice and put them back into track. Stay safe. I'm really, really hoping and wishing this thing becomes over soon. There will be another webinar next week on QuickBooks Online, tips and tricks, how to become more efficient. So we're going to go get back to technical stuff instead of talking about PPP and all this crap that's inundating our inbox and everything. So I hope you enjoyed it. Again, if there's something useful, actionable, good story to tell me because I would love to hear it. Thank you very much, and you have a wonderful day.